The next important issue is the focal length. It is usually represented in millimeters, which is the basic description of a photographic lens. Basically, it measures the distance between the optical center of the lens and the camera's sensor. The focal length is inversely proportional to the angle of view. The longer the focal length, the narrower the angle of view. Simply saying, the angle of view describes how much of the scene will be captured by the camera's sensor. Focal length tells us how much of the scene will be captured in the frame. The shorter the focal length, the broader view of the scene it shows. On the other hand, the longer the focal length, the objects are brought closer, so the angle of view is narrower. You can notice how the frame changes depending on the focal length we choose. When the focal length value is 24 mm, we can see the kitchen and the living room next to it, the floor in the front, and even a part of the stairs. If the focal length is 120 mm, we can see a more detailed image with only a small part of the kitchen included. Let's take a look at this example scene. In this case, I'll leave the camera in the same place, but I'll be changing the focal length, so you can easily notice what is changing. I've already had the camera in the file. It's a Corona Cam. So here, you can change the focal length in the software. For V-Ray, it will work exactly the same. Here, you can change your focal length value similarly. Don't worry about this for now. We'll practice it later in the course. For now, I only want to explain the idea. Now, the value is set to 16, so we can see a lot of the space. In this view, you can notice how the angle of view is changing. So it's really wide right now. We can see a lot of the front here. If we go higher, let's say 21 mm, you can notice that we capture less of the space. Also, the angle of the view is getting narrower. So it's sort of cropped the image from different sides. Now, let's change the focal length to 24 mm, which is typically a good starting point in interiors. And here again, the value is higher, so we see less of the space. Let's increase the value even more, 55 mm. The same as before, the projected image of the subject is smaller. The lenses with the focal length I've shown you so far are called wide. A 50 mm lens is considered a normal lens. The same as previously, 70 mm lenses are named normal lenses. 85 mm and higher lenses are called telephoto lenses in photography. You can see that the view is really cropped if we compare it to the others. If you want to do some close-up shots, a longer focal length will work better. So you will get a more intimate shot and you can focus on the details. So in this example, my goal will be to highlight how great an experience it will be to eat dinner there, by showing the connection between the table with food and outside. If I would like to show more of the space and how it works together with different parts of the room, I will go with a wider angle. Something around 35 mm in this case. Now, let me show you how the image will change depending on the focal length we'll use. In this example, I try to keep more or less similar cameras with different focal lengths, so you can notice how the perception of the image is changing. So the wider the focal length, the more dynamic the image will be, and there is more separation from the background. On the other hand, the longer the focal length, the flatter the subject is gonna be, and the background compresses into the subject. Typically, wider focal lengths are used if you want to show more of the surrounding space. By using them, you're taking your audience into the story you're telling them. If you want to create a more intimate shot with more details, go for a narrower focal length. Additionally, there is one more important thing you should know. The focal length value affects the depth of field. We have the same f-number value. On the left-hand side, you can see the image with wide focal length. On the right-hand side, with the narrower. So I'm sure you notice that the narrower focal length, the deeper depth of field you achieve.